right, welcome everyone. Thanks everyone for coming to check this edition of the Hubs Creator Meetup out. We share knowledge around Hubs, Spoke, and Blender and help the community create better Hubs experiences. With me here is Louis and Vincent. Together, they form the backbone of iMedu or iMedu. However, I should pronounce that. What's the preferred pronunciation there, Vincent?
iMedu.
iMedu.
Good
Yes. And we're very excited to have them here. It's really nice that they've agreed to come share with us spanning across all kinds of time zones to be with us here. So let's give a round of applause, which I think we can do here, right? With 3.
Yeah, you should be able to do it.
Yeah, we should be able to. Yeah, so let's do it.
Yeah, cool.
Warm welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Matt. Cool. So, my name is Vincent and Louis. I'm the founder of iMedu, and Louis is doing basically the Hubs client work for this system. So, actually, we've been working for quite a while now to make a system for educators. And of course, Mozilla Hubs provides a lot of functions for educators, but the main thing we want to make is something that is really easy for all educators to use and also has more self-learning experiences, because the teachers we serve are mainly people who don't have the time to actually do a class in an online environment, but they want their students to give something else, to do something on their own, to explore a specific surrounding or specific setting, and be engaged in the virtual environment and learn in a bit of a different, more self-learning, project-based way. Different reasons for that could be that it's a class of students that's actually good at school and they want to offer something else. It could also be that they have people sitting at home and it's better to give them an environment where they can be active and interactive. Or it could be also in the Netherlands, we have quite a problem with teachers and teacher shortages. So they try to find different ways of giving students things to do without having a heavy load on the teachers. So yeah, that's basically what we do with iMedu. So we actually extend. Let me go to the next slide. Mozilla Hubs with in the following way. So we have made a backbone or a backend, which is a bit of a maybe boring sort of SaaS application or dashboard where you can manage all your classes and your content. But I think it's very important because that's exactly what makes it easy to use for teachers, because they can share all their classes. They can easily click different rooms together and make a new experience. They can also create content and quizzes, which they can later then drag into this room. Now we have a customized Hubs client with all these features that we can actually integrate with these things, including iframes, which we also will show. The thing is, we made a very important choice here that we don't support headsets. Of course, headsets are really cool, but the use case for that sort of thing is, in my opinion, more about creating a super cool experience, going somewhere, experiencing something. But the thing we want to do is having students be more social, walk around, interact with also a lot of 2D content, so other websites, text or movies, and it's actually quite hard to do in a VR headset. And we want to serve all the students. So we have a lot of schools that are using Chromebooks, for example. So yeah, with you doing it in the browser, make sure that everybody can access the system. The system at the same time. The final thing we actually just started doing. Well, actually, we already had reusable spaces, but we now also try to create more reusable experiences. So when a teacher or a school wants to offer something to the students, we give them something that they can just plug and play. So for example, a course about the solar system, or example course about 3D design, which we'll dive into after this short introduction. What are the things? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I forgot about the slide. A lot of the teachers we work with always ask, what can I do? So they go into this room and they look around and they see they can talk to each other and move around. And everybody always assumes that okay, this is a great place to do online learning and I can do exactly the same thing as in my classroom. So we also started with building classrooms, but that's basically only one thing you can do. That's only the instruction part. The other things you can do are much more interesting, in my opinion, and it's the exploration and discovery. So that's actually going to an environment, do things on your own, A lot of gamification is also things we can add there. But also group work and projects. So you want to work together in documents, in other stuff that you might do on your laptop already. But in a virtual space, it's much more immersive, and you feel like you're together. Well, we all know it because we're doing the same thing here. Now, the meetings and presentations is, of course, the same. For us, it's all easy, but for teachers and for other people working in education, it's still quite a surprise. You can also host the event where you share your pictures from your school camp, or you invite the parents of the kids to look at the work that the children done, or you just organize some sort of happy event for teachers. And the final thing is, of course, you can also let students create things or build things. We did some small experience with that. It requires, of course, also some knowledge from the teacher to guide them and to help them. But I think it's really cool, of course, that you can let children actually build something, and then Spoke is, for example, a very good tool, which they can then demo to their other students in the same space that they're learning it. And these are the 5 scenarios we are focusing on and want to support and make it as easy as possible for teachers to do it themselves. I think a very important thing is that teachers don't design. It's quite hard to design a good learning experience. What teachers know is how they should combine content and how they should make games or other stuff to engage their students. But they can't work in Blender, or they can't work in Spoke even. Sometimes they want to, but there's only very few people that want to do that. So we try to do as much as possible in the room itself. And these are the tools that are the main thing that we added. So we made reusable multi-room spaces, which mean that if you want to educate, create a class somewhere, you can link together different spaces or different rooms in hubs. For example, you can gather in this room, and if you open the guide, which is a button on the lower left side of your interface, you already saw it when you came in. You can see there's a navigator in there. Currently, there's only one room, but it's possible that we may add more there. And we'll see that when we go to the experience after this. This is very useful when you want to create, for example, a session like this, and then everybody goes to its own room to work together in small groups. Or you have an experience where you want to say, okay, we start here, people do a quiz, and if they succeeded, we can move on to the next. A very important thing is info panels. I activated the interface. So if you look at the place button in your screen, you will see there's another button that's called panel. And that's basically a feature that we made. Instead of adding a link to the room, you can now add a link that opens in an iframe. And that link can contain basically any website that supports being shown in an iframe. And I put some examples here on the wall. For example, it could be a document with a private video. So if you open that private video on the left side for you, you will see an iframe opening up, and you're the only one seeing that video. It could be a website, and it could also be documents. So for you, the right side, is a link with Miro board and a Google document, which, just like a normal document, you can work in together. So this is a great way to do group work and still be in the room and work on documents together. Now, then there's the content library, and I will show you after this list. Or maybe I will show you now. Yeah, let me do that. Share my screen. I'm going to rearrange this a bit. Just seconds. Okay, I think you can now see my screen. So on the left side, you will see a content panel. that's something that's an integration we made. And here you can find all kinds of documents I made in the backend, quizzes that I made in the backend, and also the links to the rooms. If we now go here, and for example, I want to drag something into the room, for example, the Miro board I had on the side, I just pick it up and I drag it in the room. Then it takes a while to load, and then here I have an info panel. So I'm opening it now, you can see it, but as you can see on my screen, I have my private, let's say, pop-up, which yeah, I can work in. I'm going to delete it again. So that's very useful if you are the multiple people in the room and you want to watch a video and you don't want to bother everybody else. All this content here is actually filled in the backend. So this is our backend. Basically, there's a section where you can manage your spaces. And if I show you add a space, you see you can give it a title, but you can add different rooms. So for example, I can say we start on the island, and then we add some project rooms to work. And this is the one where we enter, and then I can save it. So this is a very easy way for people. And if I save it, then I'll get the space in my overview here. And if I want to give a class in that space, I can schedule it for next week. I can say I want to schedule a class in this example space. I can say when it opens up, and then you will get a link that I just sent you when you joined this class, which is protected with a PIN code, which is also needed because teachers don't want everybody to join their class. Now, then I showed you the content. So basically, it's very simple. You can add documents, so you can type anything here. You can embed videos or other stuff. And there's also a way to add quizzes. There's a quiz. You will see one in the demo space afterwards, because you need to do a quiz every time you want to go to the next room. But don't worry, if you do it twice, you will get the link anyway. These kind of things are all in there. But it's another way to use the iframes in a very interesting and nice way to do that. So this is basically the main tools that we added to this environment. And what you see what teachers do is they try to create an environment for students where they can run around, where they can play around. And they add all kinds of assignments, which they would normally put, for example, in Google Classroom. They now put it in the room. And one of the good things is that students also say that, hey, this is very nice because now I don't have to look for all the information in different locations. I can just remember where everything was because it's the visual space is really easy for people to remember instead of a link of information. That's basically how it works. Then Louis, I don't know if people have questions how we did this or how we made these changes, then Louis is the best person to tell this.
Yeah. I'm going to, it's going to be a bit quick, but I'm going to share a couple technical details on how some of this stuff has been done. And it's going to be interesting tips and tricks for some of you who dig into the code and do some modifications, I suppose. Yeah, so let me share my screen. There. Okay. All right. So first, one interesting feature that we've implemented quite a while ago, and it's not really part of this presentation, but you guys can try pressing L on your keyboard. So it will lock your mouse in the center of the screen. If you're not on Mac, I think it doesn't work on Mac. And yeah, and then if you press L again, you get to the normal mode again. So what I wanted to share was first, how did we do the virtual tablet? So if you click on your guide down there, the virtual tablet appears. The virtual tablet is nothing more than a modified model. So if you, well, I'm going to zoom in. How do you do that? Oh yeah, that's good. Is the code clear on my screen share, or is it blurry?
No, I'm not sure if it's really readable.
Yeah, so that's the problem. That's something we're going to fix quite soon.
If you click right mouse, it works.
Okay. So in the modal.js, what you can see here is that the class name that's used is actually allows you to use a property called content class name here. And so what that means is you could just pass when you place a modal component in your code anywhere, you could just pass a content class name with some custom style, and it's just going to override whatever the default style of the modal is. And so what that means is you can actually select, you can actually set the width, the modal width to be wider than it is, or taller than it is. You can change the colors, like you can see, and the borders and whatnot. So yeah, that's a really neat trick to use when you want to create custom models. Now, the content of the model is simply an iframe. So it's very simple. It's just an iframe that points to a specific link. Now, as you may have noticed, when you use an iframe, that's especially true when you open one of those info panels things, it's always going to reload everything. So that's because it's constantly creating and destroying those iframes. But the difference with the guide is that it's not doing that. It's because it's simply storing that component in memory, and it's not destroying it and recreating it every time. So if I go to class info, I close my tablet and then reopen it, I'm still there, right? So the way we're storing the content, the way we're telling, when you enter the room, open the guide at a specific URL, is using the user data field. Okay. And it's sort of a magic field that we have available by default in the room. So I'm going to try and zoom in a lot on this. Yeah, that works. All right. So here, if you type app.hub in here, in the console, you have a lot of information on the room. And some, so for example, you can see the what is it? Room size or room name, it's all there. So it's really nice. Indeed, you can get a lot of information on the room just by using anywhere new code app.hub. And it also has a very interesting field, which is called, where is it? User data. And user data originally is null, and it's not accessible anywhere in the UI. But it can contain arbitrary JSON data. And so, well, it's supposed to be here, but I don't see it. That's strange. The URL that, oh, let me deploy this maybe. No, it's not there. Okay, but the URL that commands what the page that should shows up when the tablet opens when you enter the room is simply stored in the user data. Well, I think. And at least that's how we implemented it. And the cool thing with user data is that it's available in the API when that you can use. So it's an undocumented API, but it's basically okay. I can't remember like right now, but it's an undocumented API that allows you to create rooms and also patch rooms, update rooms. And this field, user data, is available there. That means you can basically update that field from a custom backend, for example. And I think that's something Vince is using in the custom backend. Yeah, and so for the info panels, the trick that we're using to show custom buttons and custom content in there, in an iframe or not in an iframe for that matter, is the same principle. It's also a model here that is that which style has been modified, and the trick is that the link that the content points to has some extra query parameters. So it has one extra parameters that tells the object what the button text should be. So as you can see, some buttons have say show info, some buttons show edit document, etc. So this is settable in the link directly, in the link of the resource you want to show directly. And the other one is iMedu link target, which tells whether to open the content in an iframe or in a new page, or basically the default behavior. And this was quite. Yes.
I just want to add to that. The reason that we use these links is also that we're now quite flexible in controlling where people can go or cannot go. As you've noticed, you cannot share this direct link to this room with somebody. You always have to go through the invitation page with the pin code. And because we control all the links, so as I showed you with the content browser or the navigator and the guide, all these links are coming from the backend. So we can add these parameters if we want or not. And that gives us basically control about what people see and how they open it in an iframe or not.
Yeah. So it's very nice and flexible, and it allows you to do that simply even, yeah, you just generate a link and you paste it in the room. You could even sort of automate that link generation thing using some kind of UI. Of course, it's a bit hacky, I guess. Ideally, probably you'd also want to have maybe some extra fields in the place menu there that allows you to do this without the user actually having to add some code-like links. For some people, just modifying a link might feel like writing code. So yeah, that's a bit hacky, but it's actually quite convenient to use as well. Yeah, and I think that's about all I had to tell you about the technical side of it. So back to you, Vincent.
Cool, thanks.
I'm going to
any questions from somebody?
Yeah, I had a couple. Have you done anything about bridging chat between the various rooms for like global announcements?
No, that is actually a very good idea, but we haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. if I guess you also tried. You tried or not, or?
No, I have not tried that. I'm only in this room, so.
Yeah. I think it could be, the main thing I noticed is that teachers would like to use it, or maybe students want to find each other. So that could be a good way to do that. Maybe there's also a way to maybe show a map in the future where everybody is. That could also be maybe a solution, and you can find each other. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay. And I was also wondering how far you can go with extending this platform with custom content. Can you build fully custom scenes, or are you limited to what's been already created?
No, you can build custom scenes. We can add them to the backend. Basically, let me share my screen again. I can show you because I was very quick there.
This scene is a fully custom scene, isn't it?
Yeah, but we let me see if I can. Yeah. So if you make a space this is my space, and the space is our word for a combination of rooms. It can be one room or it can be multiple rooms. So you can make them for yourself. The idea is that people also share them. So if you work in an organization, you have different teachers, they often share content. So then I can also share a class or a lesson they made. And we want to introduce examples, which I told you about. But basically, a space is has some properties here on the left side. But you can select from basically default room layouts. So these are the things that we add. And every month we add new based on what people would like to see. So we started with standard classrooms, which was actually quite boring. So then we started with other stuff, and you can see also in the quality, we made steps, but now we have an island and a cinema, and so all kinds of things could be added there. If you build your own in Spoke, they will be shown on top here. So I'm in the organization iMedu, but if you're in the school, this would be your school, and you can see all kinds of custom stuff that you create, and we can add it here, and then you can use it, and your colleagues, you can share it with them.
Very nice.
And yeah, and basically if I create a room, so let's say I do an island and I do cinema, then the default room is always the room that is where you start the experience. You can also say like the cinema default. You can even change it during the room. It's very flexible. You can also change the space when you plan the session. So if people then join the session, they go somewhere else. So it's really all quite loosely connected. And you can also lock rooms. And if you lock a room, you will also see in the next space where we will go, is then you cannot use a navigator to go there. And that's a trick, so that we can force people to do a quiz. And we can really say we hide it, or we force you to learn something before you can go to the next stage.
Very nice.
And, yeah.
When you create
sorry.
it, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Now I want to say when I save it now, I say the let's create a space test. Then we call the API is called, and everything is basically saved in our database, the structure of this space. But also we create the rooms in the Hubs client, and we use the user data fields to, for example, show the guide. And we can say also an option here if we want, when you join this room, the guide popped up. If you remember, we can also toggle that if we want. And now it's calling the Hubs client, and the space is created. And as you can see, I made the cinema default. I'm the owner, I can already enter, but I can duplicate it. Now it's very flexible.
Nice. So one.
I have a question. What API is it? Is it the GraphQL thing, or is it the? Are you using an admin token to do the requests?
The last one, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so GraphQL is not available yet. I mean, you could force it, but it's still not clear how to get the tokens and everything. So yeah, it's basically passing tokens around a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of the things that is really wanted. We're looking at some improvements now also in the next release to do a bit more with basically account synchronization, because we have to find quite some workarounds now. And sometimes, for example, when people relog in to the Hubs client, then the token isn't synced anymore. So we need to now ask people to go to a specific page to check it. And so it feels all a bit shaky, but I hope when the GraphQL interface is there, we can make a more seamless experience.
Yeah.
One more question, if you have time.
Sure.
How is this intended to be used? Is it like hubsmozilla.com where you host everything and people would then create an account or something with you, or would it be deployed on servers like Hubs Cloud on your own server?
The clients we work for now want us to host it because also we have custom code. We now have like a general server where people can join and share the server and the server environment. I also see use cases where we may want to set up a server for a specific school, because, for example, we're now testing with a school or an organization which is a conglomeration of 50 schools with 14,000 students. So I guess they would probably run on their own domain if they decide to work with us. But I don't know, to be honest. It's interesting. I think for the people that are using us, we need to offer some way of hosted service, and to integrate with the backend, we need to do it ourselves. But yeah, I don't know. My dream is that in the future, this is sort of like a metaverse component that people can set up their own virtual school using our system. So they make a collection of experiences or spaces where people can move around, and they set up their own school or learning environment. And it could be that it's your public school that's doing this, or maybe it's a corporate training center, or it's maybe an NGO that wants to share something with people and sets up a training center. That would be really, really nice, really cool to achieve.
Now, about that, all of this sounds really great. I know it's primarily focused on teachers, but can anyone use it, or are you limiting it to schools and teachers only?
People who want to teach somebody to other people are fine with me at the moment. Now we do want to. We did a free, like say, free beta version last year. So I do want to move into to see if this is also commercially viable, because it's, as you know, it can take quite some investments and time. But yeah, everybody who, if you're like, say, a private teacher, or you want to make courses around a certain topic, like I said, I think you can start a virtual school with this environment, and then you can host your classes here, maybe similar like you would do on YouTube, or like a 2D learning environment. And then you're just your school, and you can share your links, and you set up your classes, and you can send out your invites. And yeah, no, but just for meetings or corporate meetings, that sort of thing, I don't know. It is an education tool, so yeah, we will not focus on supporting meetings or other stuff. So you can use it, but it's not the right tool, maybe.
Well, there is a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
built
true.
Here is really nice.
Okay. Yeah. If you have a good use case, let me know. Maybe we can make a spin-off. Yeah.
In terms of customization, so you guys obviously have a custom client, and you also have some custom backend code. Are you running a custom version of Reticulum, or are you kind of keeping that and then kind of just communicating with it? And then how are you guys running your other services? Have you tried to integrate that?
No, it's all modifications of the client and custom backends. So yeah, there's no other custom services basically.
The custom backend, as in you've modified Reticulum, or have you stood up another backend next to Reticulum and then?
Custom backend is a Python Django application running on Docker with some Svelte.
And then you're just running that kind of separately, separate from your Hub's cloud stack. You're running this other service.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what we imagined, or what we want people to do.
Yeah, and basically, I also want to touch the Hub's client at least. I mean, with the iframes, I think that's a great example of building features that is quite limited, but can do a lot. Mm-hmm. Because I also know you guys do a lot with the Hub's client, and every time we have a ton of merges to fix, especially at this stage with a small team. I know Louis is really good, but I think we also want to make sure that we can focus on the right things. So we try to keep it simple. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely want to figure out ways to let people like you who are creating custom content be able to bundle up that content and then share it with other people, like, you know, kind of plugins, client plugins, that sort of thing, like you would do for WordPress or something like that. Being able to bundle that stuff together, kind of both for the reasons you're talking about merging and kind of not having those sorts of issues, but then also being able to share it with other people or sell it to other people, or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think if you can make it like a plugin or component and a good API, I think those two things are probably the key.
Yep. It's really hard. It's very hard to figure out a good plugin API, because the kinds of things people want to do are so vast, right? It's very hard to make that generally useful enough, but flexible enough.
Yeah, and at the other end, you see, I mean, educators, they have very different also requirements for hubs. I mean, it's nice that we have all these features, but most of them, they want to shut it down or turn it off because they don't want students to chat, or they don't want students to kick each other out, that sort of thing. So, and it's nice to have an option, but an application with 20,000 options is just not good. So you better hide it. Yeah. Yeah, I saw the question about the authentication. Yeah, okay, that's answered in the chat. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so basically it's a bit of it's not ideal, but it works. You can read it in the chat if you want to know about it. All right. Anything else? I would like to say that one thing that that I think, I mean, we're looking now at features like handling the tokens better. But also, I think something that would be really nice is if you open an iframe with the info panel, that other people can see that you're looking at something. So maybe we should have something popping up in front of you, like a virtual tablet or something that you can see, hey, this girl or guy is reading something that's currently missing. So it seems like you're a bit staring into nothingness at the moment. But I think these are kind of small, cool things to add. Yeah, then there is a demo room. Because like I said, we got a lot of teachers and they go into this room and they say, hey, what next, what now, and what can you do? So I set up a room that was made by Jordan Elephants for us. And I added some quizzes and content in there. And it's basically an adventure where you are joining a medical vessel and you are training to become one of the staff members. And we used the guide and also an animated avatar and all the quizzes to give you sort of a game experience where you need to go through. So we can go there. I will add the link here.
That sounds great.
And we can also still chat there. So I think maybe. I will put a link here and also put it in the chat. Let's see there.
Activating my audio channels. For some reason, I could not fix it myself. Well, great you're here. It's clear that you are somebody with great potential. I am Dr. Robo and your training instructor. To become a successful crew member on this ship, you need to finish a few training missions. The first one is about 3D scanning and design, and how we use it to cure injuries of animals and people. If you turn around, you'll see a door to the map bay. Click on the button to enter, and inside just follow all instructions on the screens. There are 3 rooms to complete before you return here. Remember, you can always use your class guide to jump back here earlier. Good luck!
And then yeah, I think we want to add more with gamification. So we want to also that you earn something if you make progress, or as you can see as you saw on the bridge, there was 3 doors were already closed down. One was only open, and we want to see if we can make 4 missions, and then you can choose which mission you want to do, and then yeah, really build it up like a game and have more engaging stories and invest in those kind of things.